Okay, let's try this again with the mic actually turned on this time. Right, going to make this cylinder of doom as an obstacle. Actually, let's start by just getting rid of all of this and we'll start again. Where's our part? There it is. Let's bring this up. Okay, we're going to make this part 64 long by going to the size in the properties and changing the size of the properties here and changing the X to 64. Could be any length, obviously. I'm just going with 64 for now. I'm going to move it up 16 studs by changing that bit there. Control D to duplicate and dragging it up. I'm then going to select both those parts and duplicate again. I'm going to rotate them by 11.25 degrees. Which, as you can see, is essentially working like that. And then now I've got that, I'm going to do these. There we go, like that. Okay, we're going to want an axle for the middle, so I'm just going to get the one that's at the bottom because that's in perfect line, and I'm going to duplicate that and I'm going to move it up 8 studs. I'll move that up 8 studs just for aesthetics. I'm going to make that one by one thingy there. I'm going to name this to axle, and we're going to add. Well, actually, and then we're going to duplicate this part, and we're going to call the other axle this one we call world anchor. Yeah, world anchor. There we go. Let's get all these parts that are here, and we can actually group them into a model just to clean things up, like that. And then now we can easily see what we're doing here with the world anchor. We're going to add an attachment. Here we go. We're going to call this the world attachment to make it nice and clear for ourselves. We're going to make another attachment in the axle, and we're going to call this one axle attachment. And we're going to make a cylindrical constraint inside the axle, not inside the attachment. Make sure it's not in there. If it is, drag it to the parent above that and make the attachment and the constraint siblings. I think it will work inside the axle attachment, but it's a bit of a weird way to do things. Okay, so in the cylindrical constraint, we've got quite a few settings to change. We're going to want it to behave as a motor. So if we come down to actually, first of all, let's stop it from sliding up and down along its length. We want to put the slider limits on, and we want to make sure that all of those numbers that now come up in the limits here are 0. That means that it can't move along the axle. And we then want to have on the cylinder one, we then want to change the angular actuator type here to motor. None obviously just allows it to spin freely by other things interacting on it. Motor makes it turn continuously, and servo sets a position to move it to. Okay, so now we've done that, we can leave these bits fine as they are and come down to this new menu that's opened up. Now we change this to motor, angular motor. I'm going to change the angular velocity to something quite slow, like 0.5, and then we're going to change the motor max torque to something really, really high because we want it to not be interfered with too much by us running in it. We don't want it to turn into a treadmill. So yeah, there we go. That's the maximum amount we can do. Might as well put it at that. And so now we've got that. Obviously, we need to weld all of these parts together because otherwise they'll just fall apart. So let's select everything in the model. So if I click model and then I say select children, that selects all the parts in there, and then if you haven't got weld up here, drop down, select weld, and then you trick it, which I've already just done now. But, that's cool. So that's got a nice smooth ring, and we then want to have a weld from one of the outside ones to the axle. So if I hold down Alt, so I can select an individual piece, select that one, and I'm going to create it to, let's hope it goes straight to the correct one, to the axle. Yes, that's what we wanted. We want it to the axle, not to the weld anchor. Perfect. And obviously the weld anchor needs to be anchored. Anchor light off, and let's make it invisible by turning the transparency to 1. Let's go to the axle, and we're going to do the same thing, only not quite the same thing. We're going to, make it so it's can collide off as well. Anchored will be false on this one, and transparency can be 1 as well. There we go. Now that's the part that's going to get turned. That should do for the beginning step. Let's double check it. Might wanted to have made it a bit higher, but is it actually stuck against the ground? Yeah, let's also make this a bit easier to get to. Have a spawn here. Spawn location, move. Let's bring it up so I can see where it is. Yeah, there we go. Let's check that again. If that's fallen down, maybe I've got a bit wrong. It is. Let's try switching. Oh, I didn't attach the I didn't connect the attachments, of course. Okay, so let's put attachment 0 as the one inside the axle, and attachment 1 as the attachment inside the weld anchor, and try that again. That's more like it. Now we have a tunnel that's spinning, but that's just the tunnel spinning. We want a little bit more than that. We want some holes to form that we can fall out of. So let's unmodel this now, ungroup this, by this little drop down here, ungroup them, and oh no, we need to do these one at a time with the way the scaling here works. Let's go scale. We've still got it on 8 studs, that's fine, in my opinion. Let's make a series of them that slip down. There we go. Do you think 4 is enough? I think 4 would be nice if that's big enough. We're going to select these ones like so, and Control D to copy them and move them down a bit. Yeah, how about that will do. And then we can scale these ones back into place. That's it. Very nice. Okay. A little bit of a problem there. It seems that they haven't. Oh, we'll redo the welds when we've done this. Might be the answer. Nope, got to do them one at a time. That should do that nicely. And then duplicate it back. Can do this again. I was only good at video editing. I'll do a little time lapse, I guess, here. And we might as well do it one more, I suppose. Last one. There we go. Let's just make sure we get all of those parts and the weld them again. Ah, that looks more like it. Let's check that. Oh yes. There we go. Just stand there. Yeah, I definitely fall through. Fantastic. And there we have it.